Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good morning. It's the morning after the final of the World Cup, and it's good to have you join us on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Emmanuel will come to tell us how many days it is to Christmas today, but for me, it's the 19th day in the month of December. We're winding down this year gradually, and it's been an event-filled, very exciting time. And this past 1 month also in the world of sports, and the king of sports, and the the most important football fiesta. It ended yesterday, and it was really a very good one for Lionel Messi. Good morning. Thank you for starting your week with us again on Morning Spring. Femi Olanikwekun is my name.
All right, good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's a good day, good Monday to start your day. Monday, that's what it is today. And it's 6 days to Christmas. I forgot my Christmas cap at home this morning.
Okay.
I can't wait to. It's a Sunday, so Sunday rice plus Christmas rice, fantastic. I can't just wait. I've booked down a number of houses that I'll be visiting.
You know what Yellow Hood does to people? Sampling rice all
it's
around.
good to have you on the show this morning. Thank you for joining us. We're bringing you insightful newspaper analysis, of course, engaging interviews and what's trending. What's trending today is about the World Cup, but the win and something that threatens to mar the World Cup. But thank God it's been resolved, and we'll bring you all of those juicy details in the course of the program.
Well, so it's great atmosphere yesterday in Qatar, and I can only imagine what's happening in Buenos Aires yesterday through this morning. We'll be talking about that. Then we'll be going to Qatar also this morning to hear firsthand, from those who covered the World Cup, and you look at that. Some said this is by far the best World Cup ever organized in terms of organization, in terms of attendance, and so many things.
In terms of the quality of the matches.
And that World Cup final yesterday was a proper World Cup final.
Proper one.
Well, it was a proper final of the World Cup. It not twist and turns, suspense.
To the last minute.
Whoever wrote that script, deserved a Grammy, an Oscar.
An Oscar, yes.
And there may be a Nobel Prize for literature. It was amazing. We'll come back to that, but let's take this break now. We return to give you the newspapers. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's serve you the papers now, and we'll begin with the Punch newspapers. A finance bill, Dangote 7 up 170 firms may lose 2.4 trillion naira tax waivers. That's the banner red line on the front page of the Punch newspaper. 47 new applications await government's nod as finance bill undergoes NAS approval. Another writer says FGI's over 2 trillion naira company tax revenue. Government warned against tax incentive removal. Okay, so but that's about the finance bill.
Yes, it's interesting to see that some companies may be losing their tax waivers. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what comes up. What is the end result of that finance bill? Let's see how the federal government will make money, and let's see how to cope with the removal of the tax incentive, because some of these tax holidays, these tax waivers actually help the companies, in times
to stabilize,
yes,
find
in difficult times, yes. If not for the tax holidays during the COVID, I wonder how some companies would have really survived. They would have probably packed up. So we need to make contingencies for these things. But we hope that when it undergoes approval, it could still be amended if there's any.
But I think it's been approved, really. I think this was what was introduced in February this year. Remember, that was 1 year. So I feel it's what we need to do is achieve sort of a delicate balance here between government wanting to make more revenue and eventually also not stifling the companies' use. So that's that about the finance bill. And if you notice, most of our dailies have been preoccupied with economic and financial stories in the past few weeks. Yes. From the CBN policies down where we have now. Well, above the nameplates, cash limits, POS operators give CBN ultimatum. They're the worst hit. They are likely going to be the worst hit. Maybe aside politicians who need to spend money on election day. But these guys have written to the National Assembly. The Senate spokesman confirmed to me last Friday or Thursday that they actually wrote, about 1.4 million of them wrote to the Senate asking that will not help, will kill their businesses, and they were also recommended an increase in the limit. So I understand they've also written to the presidency. Now they've taken it a notch higher by giving the CBN an ultimatum. Don't kill us. Don't run us out of business. That seems to be what they are saying. Well, still above the nameplate, 80 million Nigerians risk job loss 2030. That's according to the World Bank. And oil earnings rise by 308 billion naira. And beside that, you have the picture of Timothy Receiver. And one mischievous thought in my mind wanted to say, why not put the actual minister of petroleum? No, I mean, so the defender of the crude. Yes. Government, the Polo. But in fairness, we should say, as unorthodox as that move
approach is, yes,
I think we've seen some improvement, in our fortunes in that area as regards, reducing oil theft and bunkering and what have you. We do hope that we do not descend to the abyss again. Well, the bottom strip, a couple of stories there. Unused SIMs rise by 177% to 105 million. Abducted couple killed despite 7.5 million naira payment buried. Oh my goodness, this is sad. That's on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. A Lagos couple laments 594 million naira lost to investment scam. All manner of scams coming up and down.
People are still getting caught up in scams, and I think I seem to have a slightly different opinion on it. Apart from the deviousness of the scammers, I think that greed,
the feed of the greed of those
people, because if someone
victims
says bring 20,000, I give you 50,000 without telling you how, without showing you how, and you just want to make the money, and you are also making yourself susceptible to all of these
we need, as humans, as citizens, to be more circumspect. Yes. Like you said, if someone is offering you something too juicy to be true, you should think twice. I mean,
we used to be Nigerians, very skeptical people. I don't know what happened.
But when it comes to free cash, nobody's skeptical. You lower your guard, So I think we should be more circumspect and be more sensitive. Well, the other story beside the nameplate is Osun PDP APC feud deepens. Over 407 billion naira debt. These won't go away anytime soon. Yes. There'll be actions, reactions, and retractions. And remember that the statement accredited to the Minister of Interior was, denounced, but discredited over the weekend, saying the Minister of...
Two statements, actually. The one on the public holiday and the one on the debt profile of the Osun State.
Oh, both were...
Yes. Apparently, the public holiday statement was just drafted, awaiting approval.
Before it was
released. I think some aides just put it out there. And then Shola Fashure, the media aide to the minister, had to release a statement saying it should be disregarded. That it had been drafted.
So how many disregards do we have in how many hours?
Just 2 now. For now.
Oh, okay. So the other one also was
about the comments.
So we issued. I'm more interested in that one. What
happened was that another aide of Aregbesola made a comment on the issue but it was not in an official capacity. But I think
Was
the
it a spokesperson?
Yes, the spokesperson. I think the person he told, or the person he talked to, was a journalist, and then used it to form a story and tied it to Ogbeni Arigbesola. I got one of the messages, the rebuttal, saying that it was not from the minister, and it was just.
But
it's funny because we're in the season of fake news. I don't know if I still have that message. Yes.
I saw the rebuttal myself, but I was wondering, so the journalist who reached out to the media aide to the minister, did they inform him that he was calling for an interview to get his official reaction to the story? Or was he that this became, what it became, and that's why we need to retract, retrace our steps.
The whole comments and
but interesting. Okay, so but the final story is about sports, about the World Cup, and the picture on the front page of the Punch newspaper is about the Albi Celeste, the victorious Argentinian team winning the World Cup, and the headline is Messi shines as Argentina breaks 36-year World Cup jinx. The last time they won was in 1986. Was that?
Yes, 1986.
And now here they are winning again. 1986 or 1985, thereabout. That was when they won last, and Messi really did well. But there's one guy called Kylian Mbappe who nearly gave Messi
that young man he lit up that final. Literally,
he did.
Literally,
he grabbed by the scruff of the neck.
And
I was dragging it up and down.
This is me. He really terrorized the Argentinian defense, and banging a hat-trick of penalties in the same game, 4 penalties. In the same game.
He's called one spectacular
3 penalties and one spectacular goal that reminded us of Peter Crouch in 2015 or something. But he really showed that he's ready to step up into the Messi Ronaldo kind of debate. People already pitting him against Erling Haaland of Manchester City, but he was standout yesterday. No wonder he got the golden boot.
Yeah, he did. I mean, quite deservedly too. But I should ask, and that's what because we will ask our guests, as the final now, the outcome finally settled the GOAT controversy or the GOAT debate. Well,
it's also part of my trends. Personally, I think it has, because the apex of any footballer's career, or the pinnacle rather, is the World Cup. And both of them have won individual trophies. The Ballon d'Or 7-5 difference is not really much, but winning the World Cup is like the icing on the cake, and it settles it. One person has it, the other person does not have it. They both have continental titles, Copa America, Euros, and Nations League for Portugal. And they both had the Ballon d'Or, they both won the La Liga, Champions League, and on many other individual awards. But the icing, the icing on the cake now was the World Cup. And yesterday, Messi took that and sealed the debate. And a lot of persons are even arguing that it's not just about Ronaldo now. It's about the legacies of other players, Zidane and the likes, who did not really, although they won the World Cup, but other personal trophies. But for me, this ends the debate.
Oh, okay. At least, especially between Ronaldo and
Messi. Yes.
But I've not been comfortable with the word GOAT, so I don't know how you guys come. I don't know how you come up with some of these acronyms.
It's the greatest of all time.
So why?
No, but if you want to, you can pronounce it Goat, if that makes you feel.
Goat sounds absurd, really. So what I say? The first time I heard GOAT several years ago, I was wondering why would someone wake up and call his favorite GOAT? Before I was so this greatest of all time. I'm not that old, but you guys should do better. Let's get some better acronyms.
Okay, we'll speak to the committee on acronyms.
But that's that about the Punch newspaper.
Away from the Punch, let's move on to the Guardian this morning. The Guardian newspaper is what we're looking at. The banner headline says, concerns as government shrugs off key inflation drivers. Concerns as government shrugs off key inflation drivers and a number of riders. Interest hike targets only 10% of inflation cause. Analysts worry about energy crisis in January as EU sanctions commence. World Bank, inflation stems from lack of commitment to reforms. Food shortage continues to ring alarm bells. And rigidity undermines effort to revive economies. Lots of a number of worrying riders as regards key inflation drivers there. And It's worrisome that the government is ignoring them. Is the government actually shrugging off, or not just taking it seriously?
I mean, so how many things has government really taking on like that? Most times, just look at the fuel scarcity, for instance.
Just ultimatums.
It's just a case of, well, what will be, and everybody just. Sometimes you feel like we're on an autopilot, sort of. Are we on an automated system? Because you expect that there will be some interventions here and there to make things. These key inflation drivers, if not handled, if not taken care of, will get worse. So we're entering into the Yuletide now. What the average Nigerian will spend on consumption on food has risen considerably. So most families will not be able to buy Christmas clothes for their kids because they need to prioritize. So do we eat rice or you wear clothes? Do we eat food? So January again, January is for the average Nigerian, I don't know if it's another part of the world, it's the longest month. So for many people, they will pay rent, they will pay school fees, they will pay so many other things.
I pity people whose rent are due. My rent is due in February. I pity people like that. The first 3 months of the year is really not easy.
You seem to be in the same basket or WhatsApp group as they are. Just some little difference. So what's the difference in January and February?
I may start a GoFundMe very soon. All right, away from the key inflation drivers, now below the nameplate. Kogi Agbakoba knocks EFCC, says commission guilty of breaking rule of law. Review your real name, background, Atiku campaign dares Tinubu. There's been so much controversy about Tinubu's real name, his background, where it's from, his educational background, all of his background, everything about the man. On the media space, the whole counter allegations and allegations has really been shrouded in mystery. And one thing that surprises me in Nigeria is that a man could be at the center of a storm, and all he needs to do is make one statement, and he wouldn't make the statement. He would just sit there and watch the whole thing.
But I feel did he not speak about that at the Chatham House? No, but that was when he was saying he's a real Tinubu, and if they want a DNA test, they can get it. But maybe we need to have some more
definitive statement.
Yeah, definitive statement, and then perhaps present evidences. People will ask, okay, tell us the primary school you went to, tell the secondary school you went to.
Why your classmates.
Why your classmate and whatever. But I've also seen documentaries where some supposed classmate also came out to say it was our classmate. I don't know before for the secondary school thereabout. I can't remember.
Yes, but there were
the GCI about that.
Yes, there were a lot of issues about that documentary too. Recall the picture that was used as young Tinubu.
No, I mean that was even a different one.
Okay,
I saw an earlier documentary where I said they were colleagues, they were classmates and what have you. But like you said, maybe more definitive statements, more facts, more evidences. But it's also political season.
Yes.
So you also expect that anything, mudslinging, even for issues that are non-existent, sort of, your opponents will dig it up and want to make it stick on you. But he's been battling this for a long time.
Very long time.
You're sure it won't go away anytime soon.
On page 7 of the Guardian newspaper, again, many feared killed as gunmen attack Enugu community. Many feared killed as gunmen attack Enugu community. As on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper, you can get that details on that story there. Ohaneze knocks EFCC on over utterance on Ekwerimadu's trial. That's on page 7, and below the nameplate, just down at the bottom strip of the paper, you have the weekly security review from December 18th to December 12th to December 18th, 2022, and you have the map code and the source right there. And then, of course, there's a picture, a very big picture, just like it was on the Punch newspaper, of Captain Lionel Messi holding the trophy aloft after Argentina's defeat of France at the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup final in the Lusail Stadium yesterday. You have that story on page 31 of the Guardian newspaper.
And I won't be surprised to hear some churches in Nigeria now make or create prayer points out of the mercy situation. The God of mercy.
The God of mercy.
The God of mercy that will scatter all plans,
and
that
put all enemies to shame.
And put all Mbappe's in your life. But I mean, I don't know if that's a good prayer, because Mbappe got an individual honor all yesterday. Yes. But it was such.
But Messi's career has just been phenomenal. And in the twilight, it felt like you were seeing a Hollywood movie that was gradually climbing to the crescendo.
Yeah.
You know, he won the Copa America, and then he felt like, okay, the last stage, the last step was to win the World Cup, and then he won it, and then end of discussion.
And you know, it's been a subject of derision also because of that.
Yes.
The opponents or those who, I mean, there are not many people who say that Messi is not a good footballer, you know, but it's about winning the honors. They say, so if you are great, you should be able to carry Argentina on your back and drag them to winning. Maradona did that. So if you want to cement your place amongst the greats, this is one last thing for you to do. And he did it right there at the last game, you know, on that big stage for the World Cup. But it appears, I understand, they said he's not retiring yet.
No, he hasn't made that statement yet.
He's not retiring yet.
He's not. But although yesterday he did wave goodbye to the supporters, and so that may be interpreted. But until he comes out with a statement, he's still an Argentine
and you
footballer.
could see that he was quite emotional about it. When he got his individual honor and also go and take the picture, he had to stop by the World Cup and give it a kiss, caress it, and you know, whatever. That was really, many people were so emotionally invested.
Yes,
yours sincerely was included. You know, who are praying and fasting on the mountain of
he wins, you know, just to settle
for him to win.
Because it would have been unfair that the GOAT debate remains unanswered. Although it would have been sort of a you know, an open thing. We would now be looking for who would reach that. But it would be difficult for any footballer to match either Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi's legacy. Maybe in terms of goals, we may have Mbappe and Haaland outscore both of them, but you know, this style of play, the drama that they bring to the game. It's like
the natural ability.
Yes, it's like having, trying to see if we can get another Ronaldinho, you know, that kind of flair and mastery. But let's see what those two youngsters have to offer. But yesterday was just...
So you seem to be narrowing it down to Mbappe and Haaland for the next you know, battle of which the next GOAT.
Yes. Those are the only two who have... been outstanding.
You seem to have forgotten that there's a certain Vinicius Junior in Real Madrid.
Well, he's yet to, both for national and, you know, when you look at both national and club side, he's scored just 2 or 3 goals yet for the Brazilian.
How old is he?
Too young, about 22, 23. Mbappe is around that.
Let's see if he's going to step up into that space also, because, you know, while we had Ronaldo and Messi, we had players like Suarez who are supremely gifted in all right, but lived in the shadows of those two guys all through. So it could also be the case. But we'll come to that. I mean, today is about the World Cup, it's about football. You can see me talking like I've been to FIFA's coaching academy in Qatar. But you know, when I started my broadcasting career, I was actually a sports journalist. So maybe that speaks to it also. So yeah, is that the final?
Yes, that's the final story on the Guardian newspaper.
Let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper here. The banner headlines of potential flashpoints to watch ahead of 2023 elections. Southeast, Lagos, Kaduna, Plateau, Kano, Borno on red list. Another rider, hate speech, fake news identified as triggers. IPOB, Yoruba secessionist, plots to stop polls. IGP, actions government must take before polls. These are the riders there. So potential flashpoints. The entire Southeast is in the bracket. Lagos, Kaduna, Plateau, Kano, Borno on the red list. And secessionist groups plotting to stop polls. You know.
Well, I do not see, except this scuttle the plans by the security agencies. I think that it's good that this is coming out. But considering the might, let me use that word, and efficiency of our forces, I'm sure that they are up to the task. But that does not mean they should be complacent and expect it to just go away like that. Hate speech, fake news identified as triggers. I personally, I have taken it upon myself to try and combat hate news, you know, fake news rather, because especially when the whole Osun petition tribunal started, you were being caught, and then when you come out, you see several stories,
You know, people spinning
different interpretations, and it really angers me that we are still in that age, you know, where you see something and then you say something else just for political gains. But we hope that all of these issues are tackled, and the entire Southeast being on the red list is really worrisome. Those 5 or 6, 7 states that have been on the red list is worrisome. It means that nowhere in the Southeast is safe. during the election. And that caused to question how the lives and property of voters, those who genuinely want to participate in the election, how their lives and property would be safeguarded.
All right, so, well, just below the banner headline, Nigerian Air Force rescues 7 Chinese 6 months after abduction in Niger. That story is a good one, but 6 months in abduction in captivity. And there's something that Nigerians do not know that I think we should let them know. The Nigerian Air Force has an elite squad of soldiers that I don't know, maybe it would be fair to say it's equivalent to the Navy SEALs. They are called, I can't recall the special name, but I mean they are special forces. We also have for the Nigerian Navy. Specially trained elite forces who do some of the kind of commando warfare that we've seen in movies, and then you've heard stories about some. So the Nigerian, I think this is that special squad that did this, who went into the territory of these bandits and rescued these 6 Chinese kidnappers. The Nigerian Navy also has, I think they are called the Special Boat Service, the SBS, fantastically trained soldiers. So sometimes when I hear Nigerians, make disparaging remarks about the Nigerian Armed Forces, I feel sad. Aside the fact that they have a legendary status on the African continent, participating in peacekeeping missions, their history in Liberia and Sierra Leone, sometimes a combination of lack of equipment, low morale, and a poor political leadership is responsible for some of the bad optics we've seen around them. But these guys are well trained. You need to give them kudos for carrying out such an operation.
Yes, they deserve it.
Yeah,
and I think that the PR unit of the army, of the armed forces, as it were, also needs to do more. They need to put out. I mean, you when you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, you see short clips of American soldiers at not war fronts now, maybe when they are being trained and all of that. We also need to do that. Push the Nigerian military into the media space. Let people see
consciousness.
That yes, the
extraordinary efforts.
Yes. Let's see. This is really good news, and it shouldn't be glossed over. Kudos to the Air Force for rescuing the Chinese.
All right. So the crisis in the East, gunmen burn Imo Magistrate Court. How port concessions saved Nigeria over 1.1 trillion naira in 16 years. Operators. And above the banner headline, just below the nameplate, why Atiku will defeat Obi in Southeast PDP campaign council. And untold death stories at Abuja Sport, where train crushed NTA account. And we talked about that last week. Very, very sad situation of that NTA staff getting crushed, in that mangled car. I don't know. I have not been able to confirm, but then there are stories about when the train gets to a certain point, there is something that holds down. I don't know, but it was such a sad one. I felt she could actually have left the car, and then to escape. But it's unfortunate it happened that way. And finally, as come to all of the papers, Messi delivers as Argentina beat France to win World Cup. But unfortunately, the Daily Trust is not giving us the picture. Why?
I suppose there's that commercial, that picture there should be commercial. It's a commissioning, so I can understand why. But they could have just given us, even if it's a corner piece, let's have it there.
Okay, so that'll be that for Daily Trust newspaper.
Yes, on to the Nation newspaper this morning. The Nation newspaper banner headline is Politico says Atiku dumps Makinde for Adeleke, bypasses G5. Final reconciliation meeting with Wike, others collapses. PDP candidates to rely on old allies in Benue, Rivers, Abia, Enugu. Final reconciliation collapses.
That is why the die is cast.
Yes.
So everybody will be in Papa name.
I'm waiting to see who Wike will tell River State indigents to vote for.
So I also find it funny that someone coming to say, for instance, someone coming to say, vote for me. Maybe you can tell your party members, but not the entirety of the people of the state, really. And wherever also, because it could also be a very dicey game. The governor also has elections at the senatorial and the state level for the gubernatorial. So there'll need to be some, weighing of options here and there, such that it doesn't rub off on the other elections. And mind you, the presidential election is the first one that will come.
Yes.
And so some of these things really may not be as you actually planned. But it's unfortunate that they were not able to reconcile a final reconciliation meeting. But this bad news is for PDP. It's good news for APC. So as Wike's band leader will sing, as
they pain them, they sweet others. All right. Beneath that story, there's a picture of Messi kissing the World Cup trophy. And the caption there is King Messi with the World Cup trophy in Qatar.
Okay, so it was crowned yesterday.
Yes.
I see.
You can see him with his individual award there. Messi makes history with Argentina. The story is continued on page 4. And at the bottom strip, hoodlums set Imo Magistrate Court on fire. And another story there. Now, just below the nameplate, while federal government can't add 24 trillion naira loan to national debt. Okay, they should not add it, please. They should find a way to do that. That's on page 3 if you want to know what the federal government is talking about there. And below that story, FCC can probe state expenditures, says Agbakoba, and NDLA intercepts drugs. That story, that particular story about the NDLA is on our trends this morning. You need to see the craftiness of people, It's crazy. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet. But above the nameplates, 25 generals among 756 retired senior military officers, as on page 2. Does that not leave a vacancy, or will it be filled almost immediately?
Well, I feel there were also appointments of new generals. Quite a number of them, tens of them actually. So I feel that fills that vacancy almost immediately.
More pressure on Obaseki Okoa over 13% derivation. That's on page 5. Interestingly, none of these governors have come out to categorically say, this is what I have done.
Well, some of them released statements. I remember that a couple of them released statements through their Commissioner for Finance or Commissioner for Information. I think I remember that of Delta issued a statement doing some clarifications, which will never be enough. I think the governor of Akwa Ibom said also, the government rather, also did through the commissioner. I'm not sure if I saw that of Edo, but I think, I know a number of the states actually did. But it was good that Wike talked. We never knew that monies like that were involved. So it's the onus is on them to explain to us in detail how they spend the money. So, that's why sometimes some of this rough, fight also,
it's important.
Helps.
It brings out some dirty.
Yes. I mean, look at what's happening in Osun, for instance. Now.
Yes.
People now say, I didn't know this, I owe this. Sometimes it's good for them to fight.
It was not me, it was the other person.
That owed, But we now know that we are owing now, or we are not owing,
Well, the governors need to do more like Wike will say, if he didn't day, didn't day. But now it's day, so they should bring it out and tell us. Now, moving on, DSS withdraws personnel from Osun Governor Adeleke. That's on page 3. There's a whole lot of story about the withdrawal of personnel. The Governor Adeleke's spokesperson, I think, has come out to say that there's a matter between the DSS and the police.
And some also saying the governor was involved at some point. Yes. There were some, strong words and whatever. But the news is that the DSS has withdrawn its personnel, and I think they are making efforts back then to resolve and get them back also.
All right, last story on the Nation newspaper this morning. Doctor, driver, bandit to drug supplier jailed, as on page 3. Well, if you can't get the bandits cut off,
how? Look at that lineup: doctor, driver, bandit, drug supplier. What's the correlation? What brought them together?
Yeah, I suppose that the doctor and the driver and the drug supplier all work for bandits. I suppose that's what's happening there.
I see.
Crime. This is an organized crime syndicate where you have all.
Okay. Well, so let's leave it at that. That's the newspapers this morning. We'll take a short break now. We're going to Qatar from here when we return. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's the Morning Spring coming to you from Western Spring Television. You can watch us live on Star Times channel 190 on the DTT platform. You can also check us out live on YouTube at WSTV. That's Western Spring Television. That's the channel. And when you check us on WSTV on our platform on Western Spring Television on YouTube, it's important that you subscribe to that channel. All of our other social media handles also, you can check our activities there, Emmanuel, you know, on Instagram,
on Facebook and Instagram is Western Spring Television, and on Twitter is at WSTV_NG. And do well to follow us on all of those social media handles as much as you engage our content on there.
All right. Well, so we have our guest joining us. It's about the World Cup, and it's the morning after the final. You know, for those of us who belong to Team Messi, and we fast, we prayed, and you know, there are people. My household was also Team Messi, but there are friends who actually gave me IBP. But let's go to Qatar now. We're joined live on the line by Nigerian football journalist, Nigerian sports journalist, I should say. Fisayo Dairo is the chief football writer for ESPLSports.com. He's a veteran of many World Cups and many international football competitions. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Spring this morning, Fisayo.
A very good morning to you, Femi. Good morning, Emmanuel. So nice to join you guys on this epoch-making edition of the show after the grand finale of the 2022 FIFA World Cup Qatar last night.
Thank you very much. You know, it's unusual when we do sports on Morning Spring, but because of the significance of the moment, we're all basking in the euphoria of that World Cup. So you've covered several World Cups, you've covered several international competitions. Let's start with what happened yesterday. I mean, for me, and maybe for many other neutrals, that was the proper definition of the final of the World Cup. For those of you in the stadium right there, how was it yesterday? How was it, you know, from 2-0 up down to what it became to what it went to the penalties? Explain to us how it was yesterday at the stadium.
I think what we witnessed yesterday just told us how football generally is. You know, at halftime, everyone was complaining, what sort of final is this? It's so boring. The Argentines have totally gained control of the ball, and the French side were looking clueless. The French coach even had to make a couple of changes in the first half. You know, these things hardly happen in the biggest football game of a competition. But, you know, as it will happen, the game got turned on its head in the second half, and like you asked, for those of us at the stadium, it was gripping. I must say, it was gripping. It was compelling, and you know, I was right at the media tribune, and right in front of me there was a Frenchman. There's an old, don't let me say an old man, but I'm sure he should be in his 60s. You know, you could see the tension, the pressure all over him. That's the nature of how it is, and it's not just about for the partisan people, also for the neutrals. And that's why many people agree that it had the making of the greatest football final, a World Cup final ever. Because I can't remember which final, you know, had even that 3-3 scoreline, or which one was as dramatic as that. You know, from my lens, I took a picture in the 70th minute. It was still 2-0 to Argentina. So how are you going to inform someone that in the 83rd minute the score was 2-2? You know, it was that interesting, and it was befitting of a finale for this kind of World Cup we have had. You know, I think it's only right that we have such a grandstand finale to it. Everyone loved it, although those that lost would have preferred they won. But for the Argentines and for the Team Messi worldwide, it's not only you that were there. It's not maybe only your household that people were praying. You know, I had a Nigerian female journalist also close to me at the stadium. She was practically praying to God that please make this my Christmas present. Honestly, so you know, it was as big as that, and I was so glad to be part of the history.
Well, so you know, does Messi winning the World Cup yesterday, does that settle the debate as to who is the GOAT? I mean, I'm not always comfortable with the choice of that word, really. I just told Emmanuel earlier today that I don't know how they came up with that word. But nonetheless, does that settle the debate about who is the greatest of all time between Messi and Ronaldo?
Well, football is a game of debate, you know. Even like one of my friends that we were together, you know him as well, Toby Adepoju, we were together, he was right in front of me. At half time, he said, "Look, my goat is now Pele. There's no more Ronaldo, there's no more Messi." So the debate will always continue. But it's just for the fun part of football. These are great players. Those that came from the Pele generation will never accept that any other player was greater than him. And someone told me something that was illuminating to me a couple of months back. He said, "Look, for people in that era to be categorizing a black player as the greatest, then it means a lot." But I started seeing things in that light as well. And then some clips began to surface on social media that all the tricks, all the skills that the modern generation players, from Zidane to Ronaldinho to Ronaldo to Messi, all the skills they have done, they brought clips of when Pelé actually did them. So that should tell you how special such a player should be. So, but it's just for the fun, all these go to debate. But now Messi fans have the bragging rights forever over Ronaldo fans. And, even if he had lost yesterday, they will still say, yes, Messi had played 2 finals, Ronaldo didn't play any, but Ronaldo fans will say, yeah, you're good, played 2 finals, he bottled it, Ronaldo would never have done that. So, yeah, I think the debates, they're just fun. They're just fun of it. But for the fun, for the banter, Messi has absolutely won that debate for life.
Yes, of course, he has won. I personally believe that he has won that debate. Messi has one-upped Ronaldo in terms of honors. Now, let's still talking about the final yesterday. It lit up really from the 80th minute when Kylian Mbappe came into life and burst onto the stage. Now, for the future, do you see Mbappe treading the GOAT path of both Ronaldo and Messi?
Yeah, you cannot really bet against that. I was telling the leader I said was seated with me after the match. I said, but look, because Messi has won the World Cup, everyone is excited. But we are not paying attention to the fact that this boy just scored a hat-trick at the World Cup final. Doesn't happen often. And then, aside that, he now has 12 World Cup goals. I think the record highest goal scorer in the World Cup is maybe 16 or something. This guy has scored 12 in 2 tournaments. He's just 23. Definitely, and so far, just like Messi was at his age, he's not injury prone. He hardly gets injured, which means he has every opportunity, every chance to go the extra mile. We have Erling Haaland busting onto the scene, but unfortunately he plays for a country that do not have so many footballing talent. So maybe that might impact him being in that conversation. But Kylian Mbappe, absolutely. Although his career choices, we also have a long say on it. Now, a lot of people expected him to join Real Madrid before he opted to stay with Paris Saint-Germain. Joining Real Madrid might have done a whole lot of good in advancing his cause for such a debate, because Real will always be one of the best teams in Europe in the Champions League. And that conversation for Messi started when he played in that great Barcelona side of 2006 and 2007 up to 2011, winning the Champions League as much as 3 times. And then the question started arising that, yes, he might have dominated Europe, but he's not won in international scene, but he has not done it at the continental and the global level. And so Messi has to also start winning the Champions League. And after that, he also has to he has won the World Cup already. Or he lost in the final of the Euros. He has to win that. But like I said, his career choices will go a long way in determining, because now he has shown that he's a lethal goal scorer. 12 goals in 2 World Cup tournaments. For context, Cristiano Ronaldo has 8 in 5 tournaments. You can imagine.
Well, that's it will be interesting to see how Mbappe's career, progresses going forward. But let's look at the entirety of the World Cup now. For you, were there concerns about officiating, for instance. There were so many concerns, so many conspiracy theories, people saying that the World Cup was prepped or primed for Messi to win and all of that. But away from the banter and conspiracy, were you satisfied with what you saw in terms of officiating generally?
Generally, I think I was. And, I remember the 2002 World Cup 20 years ago. There were concerns about officiating until the final, which was handled by Pierluigi Collina, Germany against Brazil, and Collina delivered a peerless effort, performance. Yeah, yesterday too, you cannot fault the referee. People were really giving him thumbs up. Many of the decisions, he took them by himself. The penalties, when a referee does not have to be summoned by the VAR to say, boy, come and check this, you might have gotten it wrong. That shows the referee was on the spot. So yes, there will always be concern. That's why football, FIFA have tried as much as they can to bring perfection to the game, but perfection has refused to come. This is the first World Cup that had a microchip put inside the ball just to detect offside real quick, just to bring a little more perfection. The line drawing thing was not satisfactory enough, so it also had a semi-automated offside chip, and it helped to an extent. So if anyone says it was rigged, they're all banters, like you said. But I think you can't complain about anything. Yes, the third place match as well, the teams have to have, that's football. It's just like when the Nigerian team is playing a North African side, they will always complain when they go there. The 50-50 calls can be dubious, the 50-50 calls can be manipulated, but at the end of it, the referee cannot, I don't think in this tournament, I don't think the referee unilaterally gave a match to another team. Look at Argentina, for instance. They thought they were coasting home. If you said, okay, it's been rigged for Messi, but the referee called two penalties also for France, which they converted. But football can never be perfect, no matter how hard the owners of the game, let me say now, the FIFA, try to bring the perfection. It will never be perfect.
And the last 4 editions now, from 2006 till date, before yesterday, had been won by European teams. Italy in 2006, Germany in 2010, Spain in 2010, Germany in 2014, France in 2018. Do you see these bolstering the confidence of Southern American teams in terms of performance at the World Cup?
Well, I'm not so sure that it's a competition, If you're good enough, you win a World Cup. It's as good as that. France were also a penalty shootout from winning it again yesterday. It's only Africa that have this thing planted in our heads that, yes, we want to do well. But if you want to do well, go and do well. Now, it's obvious that even the biggest South American talents have to play in Europe to make a name for themselves. They have to be in Europe to dominate football headlines. And Europeans are not sleeping as well. These people have very good footballing structure. Now you could see what's happening with the UEFA Champions League. They already have the UEFA Youth League. This UEFA Youth League competition will keep churning out players from their own academies. And these are players that will take over from the ones that are leaving. So they have everything in place for them, good facilities, good infrastructure to make the players happy, to make them comfortable, to make them thrive. It's not like in Africa where a player finishes a game now and, okay, let me say sub-Saharan Africa, because North Africans are also now crying. That's why we see Morocco doing what they've done. But when you come to East, West, and to a large extent Southern Africa, you see players finishing a game. What are they going to eat? How are they going to feed? Nobody knows that. So that is the challenge in front of the South Americans. That is the challenge in front of them. It's not about Europe are winning it. We also want to win it. Yes, you have to mirror the kind of plan that the Europeans have. They are taking football to be not just a game of play, not just a game of charity. Our government has seen it in this part of the world. They have invested heavily in the game, from the grassroots, from the academies, from the hotels they put their players, from the clubhouses, from the facilities, from the training facilities, and into the competitions as well. Now, Europe is no longer doing the Euros, that European Championship, and the qualifiers. Now they have introduced the UEFA Nations League, which means their teams will always be competitive. In between those 4 years that we have the World Cup, Europe will be playing like two competitions, the UEFA Nations League and the European Championship. So they are absolutely prepared and ready in competitive form. I was able to see firsthand how atmospheres could be. Give it to the Moroccans, they lit up this World Cup, and that's how it has always been in North Africa as well. Chants, whistles, noise in the stadium, and this is what you experience in Europe, in the Champions League, in the Nations League, in the European Championship. When they get to the World Cup, the players are familiar to that atmosphere, and they take it into the chain and they deliver the goods for their countries.
Okay, before Femi comes in, I made a statement yesterday. I was talking to the guys at the office that when Argentina won the Finalissimo earlier this year, I think around July, August, against Italy 3-1, I saw that as a primer, as a pointer that Messi and Argentina were going to give it all it takes at Qatar to win the World Cup, if not for anything but for Messi. How big of a shoe will Messi be leaving when he eventually leaves the national team? We saw Aguero on the pitch yesterday celebrating with the national team because of his heart condition. He probably would have been at the World Cup this year, but because of that condition. Now, how big of a shoe or a pair of shoes will Messi be leaving behind on the international scene?
It will always be huge, But one thing about football, like Declan Rice tweeted last night, the West Ham United England midfielder, that we will never see a player like Messi ever. Although some disagreed, rightfully, when they said that was what people said in the days of Pelé and Maradona. Look at Argentina, for instance. They won the World Cup in 1978 with a left-footed number 10, Mario Kempes, carrying the team. They won the World Cup in 1986 with a left-footed number 10, Diego Armando Maradona, carrying the team. And now in 2022, they've won it with a left-footed number 10, Lionel Messi, carrying the team. These players are identical players. So you cannot bet against someone like him coming back. But the shoe is big. It's bigger again now. It was big before, but it's bigger because Messi has shattered all the records available for the Argentines. He's now their highest goal scorer in history, record highest scorer in history. He's their record highest goal scorer at the World Cup. It was in the semi-final that he eclipsed Gabriel Batistuta to record. Now he has added 2 more goals in the final. So the gap keeps getting wide and wide. It's the World Cup we're talking about. Now on appearances, is there international goals for
the individual performances of the teams now. And I'd like to start with that of Argentina. After the loss to Saudi Arabia in the group stages, many people felt that was the end of the road for them. But interestingly, they picked up themselves and then dragged themselves to the final. And technically speaking, would you say this was a compact, balanced team, or they relied on Messi to take them? I personally feel that Messi got more credit for what he did, more than what other team members did. And also for that final game, was it too much in a haste for Scaloni to have removed Di Maria? Did you feel that turned the game on its head, allowing Mbappe to come out towards the end and turn the game on its head at that point?
Thank you very much for this, because I was talking about it when Emmanuel was speaking as well. The game against Saudi Arabia was the turning point for Argentina's success. If they had won that game, I think they might have been eliminated in the second round of the quarterfinals. Why? Because coming into this competition, they were the odds-on favorites. A lot of people said, yes, Argentina, Brazil, it's time for Messi to win it. And, having won the Copa America last year and the Finalissimo, the way they took apart Italy, and under Scaloni, they've been very great. they've not conceded a goal for like 8 matches or thereabout. And, you know, defense is always a huge factor in winning a major competition like the World Cup. So I remember we had a podcast on ACL Sports, and I had a footballer and top journalist there. Everyone was like, yes, this is Argentina's title because the defense is good, the coach, since this is their coach. The coach had no pedigree. He had only worked as assistant before taking over the Argentine job. That's how football can be. So, but that Saudi Arabia game, you could see, I think it was just a game designed to teach them a lesson, because the Saudi Arabian team kept highlighting they had 3 goals disallowed by the VAR in the first half. It was a game they could have won by as much as 4 goals. But if they didn't lose that game, they would have gone in that false sense that truly we have arrived, we are the best team. And look at the second round against Australia. They were leading 2-0. So that brings me down to what you asked about Di Maria. I don't think it's about Di Maria. And I know for a fact that Di Maria was not fully fit. Why I'm so sure that Di Maria wasn't fully fit was that he came in the quarterfinals, the last 8 minutes, after they had capitulated. You know, against Australia in the second round, they led 2-0. The Australians scored 2-1, like late in the game. The Australians could have equalized, but for the magnificent save by Emiliano Martinez in stoppage time. Now, in the quarterfinals, they were leading 2-0 against the Netherlands. The Netherlands equalized late in the game, and Di Maria came on in second half extra time. That's in the 112th minute. He played for 8 minutes, and you could feel his impact. He didn't even take part in the shootout. And guess what? He didn't play in the semi-finals. That's to show you that they were just patching him. He wasn't fit. So when he started yesterday, I'm like, okay, if he could play 8 minutes in the quarterfinals and has had more rest, more treatment, perhaps he could have an hour. So he had to be removed at that point. If you notice quite clearly, I think Scaloni did not make any other change apart from that Di Maria change, because he had seen it. It happened to them. It almost happened to them in the second round. It happened in the quarterfinal. So in the semi-final against Croatia, he wasn't in a hurry to make changes. It was around 89th minute he was making the changes because he knew they could capitulate once again. So when he removed Di Maria, I'm sure it's purely because of his fitness issue, and he didn't make any change anymore. So I give it everything. Like I tweeted yesterday, Argentina have tried everything to make Lionel Messi win the World Cup. They brought in the legend before him to coach in 2014. They didn't do anything. They were eliminated in the quarterfinals. They brought in a master tactician, Alejandro Sabella, in 2014. They got hooked in the final. But this time around, they brought Messi's namesake. Okay, can you do it for your boy? And he had no pedigree at all. But guess what? He's been able to do it for them. Yes, and again, the question of Messi having, I think I was privileged to watch in the stadium to watch the quarterfinal, semi-final, and final, all of Argentina's games. And I could see beyond what the camera does how Messi was on the field of play. That is capable of changing because of football, totally. Messi was just there up there, just lounging, just jogging, conserving his energy absolutely. And whenever there was a chance to have the ball, he picks the ball and run. And then after that run, it was yesterday, I think Messi made as much as 3 sliding tackles yesterday. I was like, oh, Messi, because his life depended on it. So, yes, Messi might have been getting a little too more accolades, but I think for what he has done for football, I was at the press conference held by Arsene Wenger and Jürgen Klinsmann, that's 2 days ago, and they're saying, for this boy, he has done it for the better part of 16 years. So whatever he gets now in 2022, I think they are just rewards for his years of labor. Let me just put it that way.
Well, another team that was touted to be, one of the favorites for this World Cup was Brazil, and I feel also Germany, and it was a World Cup of, history on many fronts. We come to talk about Africa in a bit, But let's look at what could have gone wrong with Brazil, complete with Neymar and some of these other stars, and with what they did in the group stages. Many people felt it was Brazil's tournament also to win. What went wrong with some of those big names, Brazil, Spain, Germany, falling by the wayside?
Well, for Spain and Germany, for Germany, I didn't even give them a chance, to be fair, because I watched them enough in the UEFA Nations League qualifiers, and I felt they don't have a team ready to compete at this stage. It's simple. Right from the start of the tournament, I was even thinking they want to go past the second round. For Spain as well, I think the overbelief in their system is what is doing Luis Enrique in as well. So I also didn't expect them to do spectacularly. Yes, Brazil. Yes, maybe I was expecting them to get to the semi-final, but the moment they came up against Croatia, I predicted to some media organizations that yes, Croatia will stop them, because I felt Croatia were the first tough team they would face, and that would count because the Croats were a very difficult side. Now for Brazil, the problem they had in their team, I think it's two: lack of balance and the manager being too pragmatic. What I mean by lack of balance is they have a lot of stars, but their stars are populated in certain areas. You can only field 2 wingers, but Brazil have like 5-6 wingers. You could see even Neymar playing as a 10. It's not his natural position. Even if, yes, he's good, he could do it, but it won't be as good as Neymar playing on the left wing. So they lack the balance. So in that left wing, you have Vinicius, you have Gabriel Martinelli, you have Neymar, and on the right, even Rodrigo, I don't see him as a centre forward yet. He's still a wide player. And on the right, they have Rafinha, they have this Manchester United's Pereira, Anthony. So, and look at Richarlison. At Everton, where he made his mark, he was a winger. Now he's the one leading line for them. So I think the team was not balanced. They just have too many talents. And again, Tite, like I said, the moment I saw Eder Militao playing as a right back, I knew they would have problems. When you look at the right backs in this competition, of course, France were able to ride on the blistering pace of the likes of Dembele and Mbappe, because Koundé was also playing right back for them, so they had something to carry it. But when you look at the Croatian right back, Juranovic, even Molina for Argentina, or Hakimi Achraf for Morocco, Brazil planted a centre back at right back, Eder Militao, and put on serious right wingers in front of him. That was Rafinha or Anthony. So I knew it was going to be a problem for them. I wasn't surprised. Like I said, I predicted that Croatia were going to stop them. And although, yes, it got to a penalty shootout, but the truth was that they couldn't beat Croatia in 90 minutes. My first game in this World Cup was Brazil-Cameroon. And although, yes, they changed the starting lineup, but if Cameroon could have beaten you, I wasn't wowed by the performances against Serbia and Switzerland. I felt, they played against average European sides, and by the time they played the top European side, they got stuck and they were eliminated.
Well, so there were history made at different levels. I mean, Saudi Arabia defeating Argentina. I'm sure whoever was writing the script would have seen that, and Cameroon defeating Brazil and some of these other games. But who, aside Argentina that won the tournament eventually, who was your standout team of this competition? Would it be Morocco, the African team that got to the semis, broke a record on the way, also defeating a number of European countries? Well, if it's Morocco, if it's not Morocco, who was your standout team in this competition? And I would also like you to rate African team's performance in the competition altogether as well.
Yeah, it definitely had to be Morocco. It's I don't think there's any question about that. No doubt about it, because this was a team that were eliminated at the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations in January, and then they changed coach shortly before the tournament, and they from nowhere confounded teams. They topped the group that had 2 semi-finalists from the last edition, Croatia and Belgium. That's for context. You know, they topped that group. They beat Spain in the quarterfinal, in the second round. Yes, sometimes they had to ride their luck. And you don't tell me they have a good goalkeeper. He's part of the team. They were compact, so that's it. And because they had to start relying on the goalkeeper and luck when injuries hit the team. At the quarterfinals against Portugal, they also did it. Come on, by far they were the most unexpected side in this competition, and it's a huge statement for Africa, especially considering that even before this World Cup, Africa had been given 9 slots at the next World Cup, which is an expanded one. And for anyone that might have the doubts that maybe Africa were not deserving of it, we had a team in the semi-final, another team got to the second round. Ghana were only just being Ghana. They only needed a draw against Uruguay, and it would have been an unprecedented tournament for Africa. So Morocco, the way they acquainted themselves, the coach was, replacing players from Bayern Munich with players from Wydad Casablanca, and their game did not drop. That was how good, how strong the squad was. By the time they got to the semi-final, they had been stricken with injuries, 3 of their back 4, but they still brought in replacements. And even if France beat them by 2 goals, by a 2-goal margin, they were not humiliated. The balls just refused to go in for them. And even in the third place, that they lost 2-1, Croatia knew they met a real match, and that's a very big statement for Africa.
And so which of these other African teams you actually expected to perform better at the tournament actually faltered?
I think maybe Ghana, because coming into this tournament, I felt Senegal's chances were dealt a huge blow with Sadio Mane's injury. And again, it was exacerbated by the injury to Cheikhou Kouyaté in the first game. Kouyaté was monstrous for them. And, when you lose Mane, you now lose Kouyaté, a strong force in the midfield. But for them to even get out of that group, kudos to them, because they had to do what no African team had done since 1990, which was beat a South American side. And they had to beat Ecuador, and they did it. They got to the second round. Against England, I knew they had absolutely no chance. So I wasn't going to judge them by that defeat. And then, so yes, maybe Cameroon. Cameroon again, because in that group, historically in the World Cup and every competition, Africans do well against European teams. So we faced Serbia and Switzerland first. I thought they could have done better. Switzerland especially, I saw the first half of that game, I couldn't see the second half. They had no business even going behind. They had 3 glaring opportunities which they didn't take. And all of a sudden, they fell apart in the second half. Against Serbia, they came from 3-1 down to draw 3-3. It shouldn't be. They shouldn't be conceding as much as 3 goals against that ragtag Serbian side. So yes, maybe that should be my answer. Cameroon should have done better, considering they wouldn't have even needed to beat Brazil. Honestly, I thought they could have gotten 4 points against Serbia and Switzerland. For Ghana, yes, they were in a tough group. The only disappointment they had for me was not getting a point against the aging Uruguayan side. That's how fickle football could be. They had a penalty. The day Ayew missed it immediately, they went to concede, and that was how their tournament ended.
So if the Super Eagles of Nigeria had qualified, would we have made any mark at this tournament?
It's a tough question. It depends. It depends. You could see all the African teams, the first World Cup tournament, whereby all the 5 African teams recorded at least 1 win each. So yes, if you come, there is always this competition spirit. When you are in a major competition, it's always different from all these one-off qualifiers. So yes, we will post some good performances. So we will definitely also win a game. Who knows? Maybe we could have won 2 games and gotten to the second round, and maybe. I won't rule it out. But again, it's difficult to say in hindsight, But because again, you look at the kind of players we will bring in, will they be ready and so. But definitely, we'll have posted performances maybe better than we have had in qualifiers and all sorts.
All right. Well, so just before I bring in Emmanuel again, you're a veteran of many of these international competitions, World Cups and all of that. in terms of organization, I remember I had a conversation with you, just before you left, and but I should ask you. Let me not spill the beans about that conversation. But tell me, in terms of organization, in terms of planning, in terms of attendance, and by the way, I was marveled with the kind of crowd that Argentina had at every of their games. But looking at it generally, in terms of organization, from what you've seen in the past, was it the best ever World Cup in terms of organization?
Yeah, that I have attended, I think it's the best ever. And I think that's the sentiment of majority here as well. I remember Jürgen Klinsmann in that presser 2 days ago was saying, yes, that every World Cup has always been the best, be the best ever, because organizers keep outdoing the previous one. And to give it to the Qataris, this World Cup, they gave it their all. It's absolutely spot on. And people are saying it will even be hard for any country now to top what the Qataris have done, because they built a nation with a World Cup. They built their country with this tournament. In Russia, in the last edition when we were in Russia is a big country. They've been built already. So they just say, okay, do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's give the World Cup this. Let's give the World Cup the trains. Let's give the World Cup the stadiums. Let's give the World Cup the hotels. They were there. But Qatar built the country for the World Cup. This major thing started like 10 years ago when they won the bid. And now they built the metro station like 4 or 5 years ago. They built new stadiums. Some are going to be dismantled. They built hostel facilities, fantastic hostel facilities. Some are going to be destroyed. The rest, they will keep them because they're going to be hosting more competition. I think 2 years' time, they will host the Arab Games. They are hoping to get the Olympics for 2034 or thereabout. So it's a country that built. So they did not allow people to suffer at all. From every point, you have buses, free buses taking you to the metro station, taking you to the stadiums, and taking you back. And the metros at this point just show you higher. It's free to the metros. So it's difficult to top this. And what about the atmosphere, the stadiums? That's the point, the conduciveness. They made everything easy, everything comfortable for everyone that has come into the country. That's why you see hundreds of thousands in Argentina's jerseys, and you see hundreds of thousands Moroccans here, and Arabs generally. So it's been an absolutely successful World Cup, I must say.
It's also been a World Cup of upset. What would you say about the performance of the Asians? They did give one or two teams a scare, Japan, South Korea, and all of that. South Korea even making it to the next round. How would you rate their performance coming from a side that is not really known as a footballing continent? They do have some of their stars, but they've not really proven their mettle on the global stage. But this was sort of their springboard. How would you rate the Asians?
Yeah, I think Japan were very impressive. They lost some penalties to Croatia in the second round, and that just shows how good they were. They beat Germany as well. And so the Asians, they will keep improving like Africa. The Arabs, they have adopted Morocco because they do things together. They have the Arab Nations Cup, which North Africans participate in. So they adopted Morocco as their team. It's good to see Saudi Arabia beating Argentina. They celebrated that. I think they will be disappointed that Qatar did not get anything out of the tournament, considering how long they prepared. But Asia, they know there is still room for, just like Africa, there is still room for improvement. But they should be encouraged by the performances of Japan, especially, who had to only lose on penalties to Croatia in the second round. Yes, Korea got to the second round, but they were torn apart as well. I think, was it by Brazil? Yes, by Brazil. But since they hosted the World Cup in 2002, I think at least one Asian teams have always made it to the second round. I remember Japan also taking Belgium all the way in the last World Cup because before they capitulated in the dying minutes, even leading 2-0 at some point in that game. So everyone should do well to develop their own games in their continent. We could see what Morocco's investment and long-term planning has done for their team. The rest of Africa also have to catch up with that.
So let's look at the other half of the GOAT debate now. Ronaldo came into the tournament with a lot of controversies, a number of controversies. And while the World Cup was on, there were still controversies around him, both at the club side, where his contract was terminated, and of course, the national team, after his substitution in one of those matches where he reacted badly. But what went wrong for the Portuguese team? They had the stars to, give all of those other teams a run for their money, but bowing out to Morocco in the quarterfinals, what really went wrong for them?
Yeah, I think what went wrong for them was facing Morocco, to be frank. Yes, and again, the little bit of distractions from all the Ronaldo issues. You could see how they tore Switzerland apart. I mean, it's in the round of 16. But when they came against the Moroccans, and even some of their midfielders again had the best game of their careers, Azzedine Unai, Sofiane Amrabat in the midfield. They absolutely chew up everywhere in the midfield. And then for Portugal, I think they were too desperate. Ronaldo was too desperate. And when you are too desperate for something, things like that happen. And by and large, they faced the Moroccan side that had luck on their side, that had doggedness for themselves, and they were resolute. They could have even scored more than that goal they scored because they still had more. Another clear-cut opportunity. They even created better chances than the Portuguese. So I think the most important thing that went wrong for them was meeting a Moroccan side that was well-oiled, well-drilled, and then I think their little bit of desperation to want to get it also got into the team.
So what players are you looking forward to seeing from this World Cup now? What players are you looking forward to seeing having their price tags increase? And some of these players are already been linked to Premier League sides. Amrabat, for instance, already been linked to Liverpool. Which of these stars do you see busting onto European leagues anytime soon?
One of them is Enzo Fernandez, who was named the young player of the tournament. He was one of the players that won the tournament for Argentina. I watched Argentina against Saudi Arabia, the midfield. I was very pissed, even regardless of that result. The midfielders could not pass the ball. Rodrigo de Paul, Leandro Paredes, players playing for Atletico and PSG, they couldn't pass, And there is one guy, Judo, was it Gonzalez? Yes, Judo Gonzalez started by the second game against Mexico. I'm like, how can you be a defensive midfielder and we are so uncomfortable on the ball? You just mentioned Amrabat as well, very good player. So, but the Judo was the guy that started in that game, and then by the time Enzo Fernandez came in, he's a 21-year-old player playing for Benfica. He just scored a spectacular goal, a goal a striker would be proud of. And since that particular minute, he replaced Judo Gonzalez in the, I think, 70th or 57th minute or thereabout. That was the last time Gonzalez touched the ball in this tournament, because Fernandez started every other game, and in that midfield, he showed what the Argentine team had been lacking. He was a master. He was a master in one-on-one situation. Even last night, he was winning the ball cleanly from the feet of opposing players, from one-on-one situations in the midfield, and then very good passer of the ball. He scored that goal. He had assists as well, and it wasn't a surprise that he was named the best young player of the tournament. It's rare to have a defensive midfielder given such accolade in this age of stars, So fantastic guy. His stake is going to rise high and high. He's going to leave Benfica next year. I'm very sure of that. And then this guy, Josip Juranovic, the right back for Croatia. He plays for Celtic in Scotland. And what an absolutely massive tournament he had. Fantastic player. No Brazilian side. He kept Vinicius in his pocket until Vinicius was hauled off. by Chiche, and fantastic player he is. So definitely, in fact, I could see some Celtic fans. The guy is injured at the moment. He missed the third place match, and then I saw a Celtic fan on Twitter complaining that, so sad, we may not see this guy for us because this injury will take him to the new year. By January 1, some of these big clubs will sign him. He won't play for us again. It's expected. Fantastic player he is. So there are a few more players around there. That's Goncalo Ramos that scored a hat-trick against Switzerland. That could also be the turning point of his career. He also plays for Benfica, I think, and yes, other top clubs in Europe, we also start looking at his side. So, much more players here and there. And then I'm sure, the World Cup has always been, and for the Moroccan side as well, you mentioned Amrabat, Azzedine Unai, who also was in midfield number 8 shirt for Morocco. He plays in Angers, in France. His club at bottom of the French league. And people are wondering, this guy plays as slowly as that? I'm sure next year as well, he will be moving to a bigger side.
Well,
that's what the World Cup has done for these players. A lot more of them as well. They will have their lives, their careers totally impacted by this tournament.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Fisayo Dairo, reviewing this historic World Cup. Qatar 2022 came to a grand closing yesterday, and it was really fitting for the drama we've had and for Messi to be eventually crowned and to put that debate at least to some end. But it's good talking to you again, Fisayo Dairo, and I hope that we'll do it. I'll be stressing you this, I hope we'll do it again on radio in a short while.
Okay, no problems.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Joining us live on the line from Qatar via Zoom is Nigerian football expert. He is the chief football writer at aclsports.com. He is a veteran of many international tournaments, including several World Cups. Well, so that's the interview. It's been a sporty one.
Yes,
football this morning.
It is. And of course, on the trends too, it will be a sporty start.
No, of course. I mean, so it's deserving of the World Cup. And what an amazing one we had yesterday. You heard him saying he's not sure we've had this kind of final in any World Cup.
It's been the World Cup itself has been such a chaotic, positively chaotic.
Yeah,
so many upsets and revelations, and we hope
you trust humans also to want to go with the underdog. And so when Saudi Arabia defeated Nigeria, I say,
they are winning the cup.
When Brazil lost to Cameroon, so wow. When Tunisia defeated France, but it's been an amazing run, really, and it's been very, very good. What a way to end the World Cup yesterday.
Yes, exactly. That's how to end the apex football competition in the entire world.
All right, and so that way also we end Morning Spring today. Femi Olanikwakun is my name. Emmanuel will be back with Spring Trends and what's trending. Good morning.
It's Monday after the final of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, and it's been an exciting morning. We're all happy. We're all glad to see today, 6 days to Christmas, and of course, it's the end of the most positively chaotic World Cup in history. A lot of upset and a lot of people losing, people winning, and of course, yesterday, the debate about the GOAT, the greatest of all time, was probably finally answered. We begin in Qatar this morning, where Messi and Argentina, after 36 years, have finally won the World Cup. And yesterday, after that win, you could see a lot of celebrations. Former player of the Argentine team, Sergio Kun Aguero, joining in on the celebration. But before the World Cup, there was an interesting jersey in circulation. A lot of persons could not decide who they wanted to support. So you had people wearing both Mbappe and Messi shirt, and you had Mbappe, being the jersey for yesterday. If you can see it on your screen there, Mbappe, number 10. Interestingly, both of them wearing 10. So Mbappe and Messi both wearing 10, a combination of the Argentine and French jersey. So let's move on to the comments right now and see what people have had to say on social media about yesterday's final match. We'll begin with Man of Letters. Letter to Jack says, I genuinely love Ronaldo, but there's no logical way of arguing against someone who has a World Cup, 2 World Cup Golden Balls, 7 Ballon d'Or, second most titles in history, most assists in history, and third most goals in history in the GOAT debate. It's impossible. That's telling you that Messi is really the GOAT. And by the way, GOAT means greatest of all time, not the word that he used for Gunfe and Asun. Back to the reactions. Lido Kane says, I love the way Argentina won. France got 2 penalties, so nobody is saying it was rigged again. Messi also scored twice, including 1 vital goal from open play, so they can't say he ghosted. MVP, Ballon d'Or, and GOAT debate sealed and buried. Content creator Gloria Ayola says, Messi D's GOAT that what shall it profit a man to win the World Cup and still end up in hell? You can know those who hate Messi. I hope they were able to sleep well last night. And Neymar Jr. says, Felicidades hermano Leo Messi. Now you have Mao also there saying your boss, calling Cristiano Ronaldo and referring to Lionel Messi as his boss. Now yesterday, after that particular win, after that win by Messi and Argentina, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made this tweet, put up Messi's photo in his cap and said the Emilokan of Doha. Doha is the capital of Qatar, where the World Cup was held. Now see how people responded to that. Daniel Rega said, Tinubu, you can see Messi plans not to participate in the World Cup after this because he's getting old. He knows the younger ones are more qualified for the job next time. That's something worth emulating. Apply this philosophy in politics. You are contesting, but you are not fit to rule. That's from Daniel Rega. Abdul MKT said, Messi scored a brace, captained his team, played every minute. He didn't sit on the bench asking El Rufai to score or take penalties. Remember Chatham House, where Tinubu asked El Rufai to answer questions for him. He attended debates. Remember, that's another question. He was healthy. He's done it over and over again. He didn't order referee to give his own team a red card. That's the people responding to Bola Asiwaju Tinubu. Now, Festus Keyamo quoted that and said, the match between Argentina versus France has espoused the notion of Emilokan, which in its proper context means when you have given all to a cause, then you can rightly lay claim to the ultimate prize. France wanted to alter that notion, but the gods ruled in favor of Lionel Messi. Now, this person, David Chineyulugo, says, Messi does not play when he's sick. He speaks well and does not blab. He plays with good players with visions and also does not depend on them. He does not embezzle from his club or nation. Also, he does not buy fans. He does not do drugs. South Sudan president matches your leader more. That's from David. Now, Chimi's uncle is the last comment. Uguna Ejikem said, imagine expecting me to tweet the GOAT debate is over for likes and retweet. After watching my idol, that's Ronaldo now, win 5 UCLs, Champions Leagues, 5 Ballon d'Ors, and Portugal's only trophies, whilst being the highest scorer of all time. Limao, keep dreaming. Fake fans everywhere. Now, Chimi's uncle says, the debate is over, not just against Ronaldo. It's over against Pele, Maradona, Johan Cruyff, Ronaldinho, Alfredo Di Stefani, etc. Messi's career is complete. Now, that's that on Qatar. From Qatar, we'll come back to Nigeria. And yesterday, the spokesperson of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi, put up on his Twitter yesterday that the NDLEA had done a bust. I would like to show you a video. You can see it playing on your screen there. They caught drugs packed in cartons of noodles. You can see how the drugs, so you have half noodles, half drugs. You can see sachets of drugs packed in that pack of noodles. Very interesting one there to see how devious people have become. Just take a look at that video there. Yeah, those are drugs, contraband drugs packed with cartons and packs of noodles. And so you when you see that going on in transit, it may look like they are transporting noodles, but they are actually transporting drugs and not noodles. So you've seen that video there. Now let's take reactions to it. Let's see what people are saying about that on social media, about that bust by the NDLEA. Abu Anifa Ibn Tijani says, once there is a demand, there will be supply. Effort should also be geared towards reducing supply. And that Ijoy Sokoman is responding, saying the agency is tackling demand through an initiative of the CCEO called WADA, War Against Drug Abuse. And the next comment is from Dr. Isaac. Yes, MNIM, Dr. Isaac Strange to think people feel this could easily pass with the imaging technology airports now have. Only will if they are co-conspirators. Rufinol being moved out of Nigeria should be easily traced to source if there is a will. The next two comments are from GB Vibe. Says, I have a question for you, talking to Femi. Baba Femi, is the drug manufacturers here? If no, then how did it get to Nigeria? Or maybe this is another series of ghosts? And Vito Corleone, using someone else's response, says, the sad part is Nigeria does not grow cocaine, but a transit point and recreational usage. That's why we are so bedeviled like this. Ekom Ray Baba says, oh boy, these guys devise new methods daily. We work faster than the devil. At NDLE_Nigeria, well done. Please do more to catch them all. And then Vesper Martin, you've seen his comment about Nigeria not growing. And Julius Dunia says, these guys, nothing they cannot circumvent. Thank God the agency is up to the task. Last comment before we move on to the last story. Akin Shola says, NDLE is Sishegefa. Trust the couriers to even use juju joint. Please, trying to compromise the staff. Do machines or sniffer dogs detect these things? Or is it just tip-offs that gives us this success? We'll have to ask the NDLEA how they are able to catch all of these people. Now back to Qatar World Cup. An incident threatened to mar the 2022 Qatar World Cup. While the World Cup was going on, if you remember that the Moroccan team did well at the World Cup, beating heavyweights like Portugal and knocking out the other team before moving on to the quarterfinal, the semi-final, where they lost to France. Now in Denmark, a Danish station, a Danish commentator compared the families of Moroccans to families of monkeys. You know, after the celebrations, the Moroccan national team and their football celebration, they were jubilating with their parents, and then that Danish commentator came up and held a picture comparing them to monkeys. Remember that comparing black people to monkeys is a racial slur and is a very racist statement. Now let's see the apology that was put out by that person. It says, earlier in the week, a host with TV2 News, Christian Anderson, that's his name, during its current affairs program, compared the Moroccan team players hugging their mothers and celebrating with them on the field to a family of monkeys hugging. Now, because of the backlash, the station has now apologized. We hope that they can sanction him. Now let's see what people have to say about that. We'll start with Ibn Tabit. It says, the host or holder of the picture and the editor should keep their apology, as it make no changes in their mindset towards the Muslim, because how on earth is family compared to monkey style of living? That's a very good question there. Abel Ifezie is the next commentator. It says, FIFA must sanction this man and his employer very heavily, or be seen by all Africans as accomplices in this barbaric and stupid racist comparison. This is the height of racism and wickedness. These apologies are not accepted by all Africans. Enough is enough. Onyedot is next. Says, last time their cartoon character resulted to killing of many Christians in northern Nigeria. Hope that's not going to happen again. And Ajilola Hussein says, I don't think he meant it the way people think about the analysis. It's just showing blah, 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 blah. And Niger Boy says, Nigerians always defending the worst. Adeyemi Bironke is our last comment here. It says, apology, what a load of bollocks. But can we really blame them? Leaders from the entire continent recently went on excursion to the US like a bunch of school children. And Forever Young says, despite his apologies, he shouldn't go unpunished. Now we are saying all the way from Western Spring Television, racism is bad. Racism is wrong. It has no place in football. It has no place wherever in the world. We're all one and we're all humans and not animals. That's the show for this morning. My name is Emmanuel Ojadigele. You can follow me on Twitter at EM Ojadigele. And do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Western Spring Television, on Twitter at WSTV _NG, and on YouTube, Western Spring Television. Remember to subscribe to our channel. Have a lovely Monday. I'll see you tomorrow.